Welcome back to my channel, Famous and Fabulous. Robin Williams really disliked her more than anyone else. Robin Williams was born Robin McLaren Williams on July 21, 1951 in Chicago, Illinois. He came from a family that had both money and creativity. His father, Robert Fitzgerald Williams, was an important boss at Ford Motor Company. His mother, Lori McLaren, used to work as a model and had a really funny sense of humor that had a big effect on her son. Robin grew up in the fancy neighborhoods around Detroit and later in Marin County, California. He had a pretty easy childhood with everything he needed, but deep down, he was a boy who felt lonely and left out. To deal with these feelings, he found comfort in making people laugh. He would entertain himself and others by copying different voices, creating made-up characters, and dreaming up whole new worlds. This special gift of turning sadness into laughter would later become what his whole career and what people remember him for was built on. Williams went to Claremont Men's College first, then moved to the College of Marin, where he found out he loved acting. After that, he won a full free ride to the famous Juilliard School in New York City, where he learned from the well-known teacher John Houseman. While he was there, he became close friends with another student named Christopher Reeve, and they stayed friends for their whole lives. Even though Williams was one of only 2 students in his class, the other one being Reeve, picked for Juilliard's top program, he decided to leave in 1976 to do stand-up comedy all the time. He figured out that what he was really meant to do wasn't just acting, but the quick-thinking, exciting world of making things up on the spot. His comedy style, super fast, surprising, and mixed with both genius and craziness, made him different from everyone else performing. Robin Williams became hugely famous in the entertainment world in the late 1970s when he got the part of Mork, an alien from the planet Ork in the TV show Mork and Mindy, which ran from 1978 to 1982. What started as just one guest spot on Happy Days turned into something everybody was talking about. His wild energy, super quick wit, and adorable weirdness won over audiences all across America. People watching had never seen anyone like him before. He was both incredibly funny and deeply real. The show made Williams famous everywhere and got him his first Emmy nomination. But behind all the laughing, Robin was fighting with the harder parts of being famous, including the stress of always having to be creative and early problems with drugs and alcohol, a fight he would keep dealing with his whole life. As his career grew and changed, Robin Williams showed that he was way more than just a comedian. He became one of Hollywood's most talented and admired actors who could play all kinds of roles. His first big serious acting performance was in Good Morning Vietnam in 1987, where he played the wild radio DJ Adrian Cronauer. This role showed he could mix comedy and serious feelings perfectly, which got him an Academy Award nomination. After that came other amazing performances in Dead Poets Society from 1989, where he inspired people watching as the excited English teacher John Keating. Awakenings from 1990, where he played a caring brain doctor, and The Fisher King from 1991, where he balanced craziness and sadness with deep humanity. His voice acting as the lovable genie in Disney's Aladdin from 1992 brought his amazing talent to a whole new group of younger fans and is still one of the most famous voice performances in movie history. Williams also brought happiness through fun family movies like Mrs. Doubtfire from 1993, Jumanji from 1995 and Hook from 1991, where his endless energy and emotional power turned make-believe into something that felt real. But he could also make audiences incredibly sad with his serious work. His performance in Good Will Hunting from 1997 as Sean Maguire, a smart and caring therapist, won him an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. In that role, he said one of the most touching lines in movies: "You're not perfect, sport, and let me save you the suspense. This girl you met isn't perfect either, but the question is whether or not you're perfect for each other." That quiet, honest wisdom became a symbol of the man himself. Not perfect, but always caring. Robin Williams' love life was as colorful, complicated, and deeply real as the man himself, showing his huge heart, deep feelings, and constant search for love, connection, and someone to share life with. During his life, the beloved comedian and Oscar-winning actor got married 3 times. Each marriage was a different chapter in his personal story, filled with happiness, hard times, creative energy, and finally lessons about the sad and sweet nature of relationships between people. His first marriage was to Valerie Velarde, who he married in 1978, right at the beginning of his fame. This was the same time when Robin's comedy Brilliance was taking off with his breakout role as the lovable alien Mork on Mork and Mindy. Valerie, a talented dancer and artist, met Robin during his early years as a struggling comedian in San Francisco. Their relationship started from real love and shared artistic spirit long before he became famous. She helped him through the craziness of his early career, staying by his side as his name started to be heard all over Hollywood. But as Robin's fame exploded and the pressures of being famous got worse, their marriage started to have problems because of his crazy busy schedule, touring requirements, and the temptations that came with being a celebrity. Even though they tried hard, they slowly went in different directions. The couple had a son, Zachary "Zach" Williams, in 1983, and Robin loved him so much. He would later say, being a father was one of the best gifts of his life. But by 1988, after 10 years of marriage, Robin and Valerie got divorced. Even though their marriage ended, they stayed friendly, brought together by their shared love for Zach and their respect for the years they had spent building a family together. Just 1 year later, in 1989, Robin fell in love again with Marcia Garces, a woman who had already been an important part of his life. Marcia had been Zachary's nanny and later became Robin's personal assistant, and over time, a deep friendship grew into romance. Their relationship surprised some people because of how it started. But for Robin, it was a partnership based on understanding, caring, and working together creatively. The two shared not only a marriage, but also a work relationship. Marcia became a film producer and worked with Robin on several of his projects, including Patch Adams and Mrs. Doubtfire. Together, they had 2 children. Zelda Ray Williams, born in 1989 and named after the popular video game character, and Cody Allen Williams, born in 1991. Robin often talked about his huge love for his children, getting ideas and humor from being a father, which became something he talked about a lot in both his comedy and his personal thoughts. But fame once again created a big problem for his happiness. The demands of his career, combined with his ongoing battles with addiction and depression, put huge stress on the marriage. After more than 20 years together, filled with both success and trouble, Robin and Marcia separated in 2008 and finished their divorce in 2010. The end of their marriage was a hard time for Robin, who publicly said he was sorry for the ways his personal problems had hurt the people he loved most. Still, he and Marcia kept some respect for each other, putting the well-being of their children first above everything else. In 2011, Robin took one final chance on love when he married Susan Schneider, a graphic designer and artist. The two met at an Apple store in Marin County, California, a surprisingly normal place for a man as famous as Robin. Susan later remembered that she was right away attracted to his warmth and gentle humor, not his celebrity status. Their relationship grew into a deep and loving partnership, giving Robin comfort and friendship during the later years of his life. Susan became someone he could lean on as Robin faced growing health problems, including heart surgery in 2009, and later the terrible brain symptoms of what was later figured out to be Lewy body dementia, a complicated and not well understood brain disease. Even with his illness, Robin and Susan shared moments of laughter, sweetness, and quiet happiness at home in their house in Tiburon, California. They stayed married until Robin's tragic death in August 2014, a loss that shocked the world and left Susan to become someone who speaks out for awareness of the disease that took his life. For many years, Robin Williams and Sally Field were 2 of Hollywood's most loved and respected actors. Both could make audiences laugh one moment and cry the next. They acted together in the 1993 huge hit Mrs. Doubtfire, a film that became a family favorite and showed off their amazing chemistry as a divorced couple trying to figure out life after splitting up. To people watching from outside, it looked like the 2 stars got along perfectly. Their back and forth was sharp, their timing was perfect, and their connection seemed real both on and off the set. But behind the scenes, things were reportedly not as peaceful as fans might have thought. There were moments of tension, disagreements about creative choices, and personality differences that made their working relationship way more complicated than their warm smiles showed. According to people who were close to making the movie, Robin Williams could be hard to predict on set. His gift for making things up as he went often made him go away from the script, adding lines and silly behavior that sometimes left the actors working with him trying hard to keep up. Sally Field, on the other hand, was known for being professional and following rules. She liked things exact, organized, and planned out. This difference in styles created problems. While Robin did great in messiness, Sally liked having control. "Sally didn't find me funny all the time," Robin once joked. sort of smiling, but with a bit of truth under his humour. She had that look, you know, that Mum looked like she wanted to ground me. The two had totally different ways of doing their work. And even though they respected each other as actors, they sometimes clashed in personality. Robin's making things up often meant they had to film scenes over and over many times, which annoyed both the crew and the actors working with him. Sally, coming from a background of serious acting and method acting, sometimes found his comedy spontaneity tiring. "I think she thought I was just a big kid running around with too much sugar," Robin once said with a laugh that made fun of himself. "She'd give me that stare, the kind that could stop your heart, and I knew I'd better stick to the script." Behind the laughter, though, there was real strain. Field, known for her intense, deep feelings, sometimes saw Robin's constant joking as a way to defend himself, a way of hiding his insecurities and pain. At the same time, Robin reportedly found Sally's seriousness scary. He admired her talent, but her perfectionism sometimes made him feel judged or held back. Even after they stopped filming, Robin sometimes hinted at their off-screen tension in interviews, though always through humour. He once said, "Working with Sally was like being in therapy with a referee. You want to laugh, but you also don't want to get yelled at." People who knew Robin understood that humour was his protection. If he didn't like someone or felt uncomfortable, he'd cover it up with a joke. In truth, the relationship between Robin Williams and Sally Field was a mix of respect and frustration. Two strong, brilliant performers who just worked on very different emotional wavelengths. Still, hate might have been too strong a word for Robin. What he probably felt was a mix of respect and annoyance, an emotional push and pull that came from their differences in energy and personality. Sally Field, for her part, later spoke kindly of Robin after his death in 2014, saying, "He was more than the genius we saw on screen. He was the most delicate, vulnerable soul." Those words showed that despite their differences, she understood the pain behind his humour, the deep humanity that made him so unique. But for Robin, those years working with her stayed challenging. "Sally could cut through you with one look," he once admitted privately. "She didn't buy the clown act. That's what made her great, but also what made her hard to be around." To someone like Williams, whose whole being was built around making people laugh and feel joy, being around someone who saw straight through the act could be uncomfortable. She made him face parts of himself he often tried to hide under his comedy. In the end, Robin Williams and Sally Field showed two sides of Hollywood's golden heart, the wild spark of making things up and the careful fire of skill. They may not have been close friends off the set, and their relationship may have been full of moments of not understanding each other, but together they created one of the most touching and lasting on-screen partnerships of the 1990s. Behind the laughter, the tension between them may have added to the realness that made Mrs. Doubtfire unforgettable. And while Robin might have joked that he truly hated her more than anyone, people who knew him best understood that his words, like his comedy, always had layers, a mix of humour, truth, and caring wrapped inside the soul of a man who felt everything deeply. Tragically, behind his laughter, Williams struggled with depression, anxiety, and later, the effects of undiagnosed Lewy body dementia, a progressive brain disease that affects thinking, memory, and mood. On August 11th, 2014, the world was shocked by the news of his death at age 63. It was a loss that felt deeply personal to millions of fans who had grown up with his movies, his stand-up, and his heartfelt interviews. Messages honoring him poured in from around the world. Other comedians, actors, and regular people all shared how Robin Williams had made them feel less alone. Even NASA honored him by tweeting, "We will miss you, Robin Williams. We watched your movies. Now you're in our galaxy. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses."